I suppose like in a big company like Suffolk, I don't know how many thousands of employees are there, but when they say they, in inverted commas, do innovation, shall we say, what does that actually mean? Does it mean
Team, it wasn't upon us to necessarily always lead that innovation. Anyone in the field could do that and bring it to us. The advantage with that is there are people in the field who understand the operations of building a building much better. So they would know, they're closest to it. They would know what's, sometimes what's best to look at, what use cases are best to look at, and figure out how to find efficiency.
or what was your favorite, most exciting innovation at the time?
The last ones that come to mind, was where I was involved a little bit with the robotic dogs, and a company called Open Space, where you take a camera, you stick it either on your hard hat or on the robotic dog, and walk the job site, take progress pictures.
Say some of the mistakes that innovation departments make.
Mistakes is the word I'd use. Really, it's really because we all trying to figure out what is innovation, right? So there's good and there's better. Right. So, the whole idea of innovation is to fail fast. Right. So mistakes has this connotation of you did something wrong, whereas there's learning in not doing the right thing.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Bricks and Bytes podcast, where we dive into construction and AEC technology. Before we get started though, if you're a startup founder or operator responsible for innovation in your company, or you want a deeper, more insightful look into technology in AEC, you won't want to miss our newsletter. From deep dives into particular technologies such as AI, robotics, design, software, and so on. Hot takes from investors betting big in AEC technology, and advice on building tech companies, including the stories and takeaways of the most successful AEC technology founders. Head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today to get this exclusive material straight to your inbox. And now for the episode.
This episode is brought to you by Build Vision, transforming construction supply chain by bringing contractors, manufacturers, and stakeholders onto a single software platform. Visit buildvision.io to find out more.
Hey everyone, this episode forms part of a series where we dive into the world of AI and documentation management. If you want to go even deeper, head over to bricks-bytes.com/downloads to download our extensive report. In the report, we cover a comprehensive analysis of the AI construction technology landscape, including detailed profiles of 5 leading companies. We break down their business models, growth, and unique technological approaches, essential intelligence for understanding where the market is headed and identifying potential investment opportunities. We explore an actionable framework for evaluating AI solutions, specifically distinguishing between true innovators and wrappers. This helps you assess which companies are developing defensible technology versus those simply repackaging existing solutions, crucial insight for making informed investment or partnership decisions. We also look at real implementation case studies and ROI metrics from enterprise customers, including how companies like Gilbane are saving substantial sums per month in rework costs, and how others are achieving 80 to 90% time savings in contract review processes. These concrete examples help validate market potential and scalability. The report is particularly valuable for corporate venture teams, innovation teams, and construction project teams looking to understand where the real opportunities lie in construction AI. If you want to download the report, head over to www.bricks-bytes.com/downloads. But now for the episode.
Good morning, good afternoon, Ajoy. That's the right one. So, Ajoy, thank you for joining us today, all the way from you're in Boston, right?
I'm in the Boston area, Massachusetts.
Yeah, and I would say that given the title of Microsoft that you carry, you could be our most, I don't know, is the right word prestigious or like a largest brand we've had on Bricks and Bytes. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Yes, Microsoft, obviously, we're doing a lot with AI, leaning into the construction industry, AEC in general, and real estate. So there's quite a lot to talk about. Very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
And people may be wondering, like, why the hell have we got Microsoft on the podcast? But we'll get to that. But I guess the key thing to highlight here is that you were at Suffolk Construction previously. So, could you tell us a little bit about your role at Suffolk?
Yes, I came to Suffolk in about 2014, where I was asked to, revamp their IT environment, their technology environment, and that's what I did. A huge transformation initially from infrastructure, security, operations, and application, and then went over to do innovation under the then Chief Innovation Officer Chris Mayer, and eventually I came back to IT with a kind of a hybrid role between IT and innovation. So I was there for almost 9 years before I came to Soft.
Yeah, and what does it look like? What does it mean doing IT in these kind of big companies? Is it like, are you dealing with the new software that gets purchased and incorporating that into like the wider systems? Maybe you could shed some light on the role.
Yeah, I think if you look at being in Microsoft now, that I'm kind of seeing various organizations in these areas. So traditional IT, you're managing, you're operating security applications, infrastructure, right? Things that the business rely on. Sometimes they don't really necessarily understand that the back-end systems, but it's the companies heavily rely on. That said, a lot of what we do in IT, can change based on where the organization wants to go. So I've seen a lot of organizations that want to be innovative, right? That want to push on the boundaries of innovation. Suffolk was very much like that, and that gave me the opportunity to do different things with innovation and marry that up with technology, with IT, right? So when we think of innovation, I think a lot of folks in construction companies think of innovation as, very tech focused, right? But innovation can actually be in a wide different set of topics.
And from I suppose a lot of the innovation that we're doing, and maybe this was applicable to your time there, would have been from a software side as opposed to hardware. So how could you shed some light on maybe how often new software was being implemented within Suffolk?
Yeah, so our goal back then, twofold. I think, once creating an organization framework for innovation, right? It was at the time, this was 2017, right? So innovation was a very new topic in construction. Like, you didn't really see a lot of people with titles with innovation in them back then, right? I think that was just starting to happen. And so I think folks were trying to figure out what is innovation. And I sometimes even to this day, I question what is innovation, right? Especially with construction companies. But back then, it was, figuring out what is that innovation framework? How do we innovate? How do we pull the organization together to innovate? And that's I thought that was a tall order because, as you know, construction companies aren't very, forward adopting with technology. So a big part of what I felt innovation was back then, or what we were pushing for, was adoption and really, trying to look at leading edge technologies to change the way we do operations, right? To change the way so either finding efficiencies with either time, costs, or both, right? But that was a big focus of innovation back then.
Sure.
I think that's also evolved now. I think a lot of companies are looking at innovation as, portfolios of companies in technology that can do a lot of the, find efficiencies in construction still. But, I think the mindset has shifted a lot to investments.
Yeah, okay. Yes, because I suppose like in a big company like Suffolk, I don't know how many thousands of employees are there, but when they say they, in inverted commas, do innovation, shall we say, what does that actually mean? Does it mean like we have a team that just looks at innovation and might use a macro on a spreadsheet, or is it people that are actually like actively pushing the limits and are right at the cutting edge and really trying to implement technology?
Yeah, back when I was doing this at Suffolk, we had a small team of what we call the innovation team, and it was twofold. One was we were looking at technologies that would change the way we do things to find efficiencies, to do things faster, better, so you have to still maintain the quality. But two, also be able to push people on doing things. So it wasn't just because we had the innovation title and we were the innovating team. It wasn't upon us to necessarily always lead that innovation. Anyone in the field could do that and bring it to us. The advantage with that is there are people in the field who understand the operations of building a building much better. So they would know, they're closest to it. They would know sometimes what's best to look at, what use cases are best to look at, and figure out how to find efficiency. Our job in that would be, okay, how do we take that and bubble that up to different groups, to different geographies within the business, etc.
Okay, cool. What was your favorite, most exciting innovation at the time,
Interesting.
apart from Microsoft stuff?
Microsoft was one of them, actually, and I
Yeah.
can talk a little bit about that. But I think at the time, one of the last ones that come to mind, was where I was involved a little bit with the robotic dogs, and a company called Open Space, where you take a camera, you stick it either on your hard hat or on the robotic dog, and walk the job site, take progress pictures. I thought that was interesting because now with AI also, you can actually take the output of that and try to figure out, can you update project schedules with that? Can you update, and, through project schedules, you understand, where things are slipping or where things are not being done correctly, and which creates risk and, downstream impact.
Yeah. Okay. So knowing what you know, perhaps now with your experience at Microsoft, and then perhaps what you experienced at Suffolk, what would you say some of the mistakes that innovation departments make?
I don't know. Mistakes is the word I'd use. Really, it's really because, we all trying to figure out what is innovation, right? So there's good and there's better, right? So and the whole idea of innovation is to fail fast, right? So mistakes has this connotation of you did something wrong, whereas there's learning in not doing the right thing, right? So and that was very key to the way we actually did things, and the culture of the place was, it's okay to, if you go down a path and you realize that wait a minute, this is not working out, let's course correct, right? But if anything, I think a lot of organizations, we take software, we take solutions off the shelf, and we implement them, and we call it innovation. And I question if that's really innovation, right? To me, innovation, very broadly speaking, is what I call the art of recombination, right? You take something that's, applied for a different use case, and you bring it into a different use case to see if you can gain efficiency, the value. To me, that's one way of looking at innovation, right? So I think a lot of organizations were just looking at things and, off the shelf and implementing it and calling it innovation. I don't think that's innovation, honestly.
Okay, very good. So now moving forward to where you are, I guess like what maybe one thing is the transition from Suffolk to Microsoft. Like, why did you leave? Why did you join Microsoft?
Multiple things, I think so. Towards the end of my tenure at Suffolk, I was doing a project with Microsoft, and it went pretty successfully. And at the time, I realized that I wanted to do the same thing at a larger scale, right? So when I was talking to Microsoft, and I realized that there was this opportunity to really come here and try and build out this industry. As you know, construction and AEC is not a prioritized industry for Microsoft. So one of the things I wanted to do was see how I can advance that. The very few times in your career you'll get a chance to work at a company like Microsoft and help build an industry, right? So I saw that opportunity, obviously with industry background, industry knowledge. I wanted to come here and try and change that. I also saw that, and this is a very little known fact. Microsoft is one of the world's largest developers and owners of real estate, right? The buildings don't look very sexy. There are these, some of them are office buildings, so that could say, maybe they're a little bit more complex, but data centers, there is a level of complexity, I won't lie, but it may not be as complex as commercial or residential buildings.
Just a quick pause. If you're finding this valuable, we've got a comprehensive report that dives even deeper into AI in construction documentation management. From market analysis of leading startups to real ROI metrics from enterprise implementations is your guide to understanding the AI construction documentation management landscape. Download it at www.bricks-bytes.com/downloads. Now back to the show.
Right. So, but there definitely is a level of complexity. But, if you look at the pipeline that Microsoft is building data centers, it's humongous. And so so I felt like, Microsoft is the right place. The other reason, somewhere at Suffolk, when I was doing some of these projects, and I can talk a little bit about that, but I realized that Microsoft has a huge power with their ecosystem of tools that you can bring solutions to market faster. So that when the business says, "Hey, I want something quickly, I want to go faster," there is a way to build a baseline and build on top of it, right? A baseline of application or services, if you may, and then build on top of it. So when the business says, "I want to implement something," or "I want to, a new solution," you can very quickly deliver that. Right? Something outside of an ecosystem, when you do best of breed and you choose best of breed products, it becomes really difficult over time, right? Because the best of breed strategy works when you're smaller, and then as you grow and as the number of applications start growing, it doesn't work because there's more to manage, there's more data integration to manage, there's more cybersecurity to manage, and there's more adoption to manage, right? It becomes really difficult for an industry that is already lacking in adoption.
Okay, so you mentioned that if what would be an example, perhaps like a quick automation that someone wants to create, or like an internal application that people could build just very quickly off the Microsoft ecosystem? Is that the kind of stuff you're describing?
Absolutely. Like you think about a job site, right? What happens at the very beginning of a job site, you go through your safety task list, your PTPs, right? And things like that. You can build those safety apps into, what technically we'll call them Power Apps, right? On the Power Platform. You can build that very quickly and deliver it to the business, right? And because you're already pulling in certain attributes from user profiles and all, I don't have to ask, a lot of questions. I can just have it very curated to, the 5-6 questions that I need them to answer, and, give them drop down menus or something and have it on their phone. So they're very quickly finishing it up and they go on to do their next task, right? It's specifically for subcontractors.
Got it. So then why do we need to go and spend tens of millions developing the next cutting edge solution, which might be able to do just what Microsoft does with their Power Suite?
Great question. So again, I look at it this way. So one, you don't, right? So, but I look at it this way, right? So you've got your ERP, right? You've got your core systems, and then you've got these peripheral workflows, if you may, right? That's where I see a big use of Power Platforms, right? For your core ERP, dynamics and things like that. And, something that's really important here, a lot of customers ask me, Ajoy, Procore, Autodesk, Microsoft, who am I choosing? And I'd say, think about this for a second. What you're really asking me, Microsoft, we are a platform company at the core, right? We've always been. we use partners, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, but we use partners to develop on top of our platform, right? Will we do industry specific things specifically to us? Probably not, right? I've had a CIO once ask me, Ajoy, why can't you do what Autodesk does? We're never going to do that. So my point is that, I think it's important to understand the swim lanes, right? What Procore's good at, what Autodesk is good at, what Microsoft's good at. I would position Microsoft as your connective tissue, right? We connect all your digital assets together, right? And that's and then bring all that information into a database to do further mining of and analysis of your data. But at the core of it, we're bringing all your data together, using our ecosystem.
Okay, sounds good. Maybe we can dive into that, but I just really wanted to go back to just to step back onto like your role and why Microsoft needs someone from the AEC industry. Are they excited about the space? Like, surely if Microsoft is getting interested, then we're in fertile land.
Yeah, I think So I think Microsoft, we're always looking for what's the next industry, right? Or what's the next thing. So, so this is definitely an interesting industry, right? Microsoft is, if you think about it, we are on the owner's side of construction, right? So, there, some people may say, we almost look like a construction company in some sorts. And the way we have to do construction has to be very different with AI because it's booming, right? So we have to figure out something different with construction. That said, I think there was we're starting to look at this industry. I was brought into that for that, to help figure out how do we go to market, what are some of the things we can do, what are some of the solutions we can bring to the table, and what do we do, kind of future looking.
Is there like I guess but when they brought you in, and your title is Director of Technology Strategy.
Correct.
Is that correct? So they already had probably like a small team involved with looking at this. And was the decision to hire you geographical or more strategic, or how do you fit in?
Yeah, initially, I mean, I think it was more local, but I slowly have started helping, not only the North America, some folks in Canada, Australia, Europe as well. Because of my industry knowledge, I actually help other sellers with their C-level executives to talk construction specifically, right? Construction use cases. How can Microsoft help? A lot of CIOs, as you know, construction specifically, profit margins are razor thin, and there are a lot of CIOs asking, Joy, how do we, use technology to gain efficiency and be more operationally effective? And that's a big question. So I think just, helping or talking to these, C-level executives and helping them understand how can we do that has been a big part of what I'm doing. Internally, trying to explain to people within our team. So there are essentially 3 teams in North America that focus on AEC and real estate, and really explaining to them, how the industry works or what happens during construction, right? There's a lot that goes on. It's pretty chaotic if you've ever been on a job site, right? But there is a method to the madness, and to explain that what happens, and then to try and see if I can help translate construction to technology, right? And I think that's my unique value proposition is, there are a lot of people probably better than me who know the Microsoft stack, right? There are probably a lot of people better than me who know the construction, definitely, right? But there aren't a lot of people who really can bring the two together, right? And that's, that's a big part of my value proposition, bringing both of those together and really looking at things from a customer's lens, right? Having been in a senior leadership position at Suffolk, really thinking about it from a customer's perspective is very helpful, so that we're very grounded when we come up with ideas internally. It's important to ground ourselves. Like, it's really going to fly, or are we just dreaming it up? Right.
Yeah, very nice.
So yeah, that's a big part of it.
Can you give some examples or case studies or something along those lines of how perhaps using Microsoft Suite, that the C-suite within a large construction company can be more efficient?
Absolutely. And I'll talk a little bit about kind of what I did at Suffolk and continue to do over here. A team of mine and I, we sat down and we actually strategized through looking at, and this was during COVID, and we were trying to figure out, okay, what services could we offer the industry that, could make a difference. And something that we realized, which I'll share, is, it doesn't matter what applications you ask people to log into and use on a job site. At the end of the day, what's going to be critical is that they have a digital identity to log into every one of those things, right? And once you have that digital identity established, you can track a lot of different things, right? So what we ended up doing is we created a platform based on Power Platforms, where we were able to essentially quickly have somebody log in. So now back up a little bit. The traditional way somebody walks into a job site, drywall subcontractor, he does his work and now he has to log that in somewhere, right? The traditional way would be, hey, look, I don't really have time. I want to drop a few F-bombs and here you go. I want to fill up a little slip. Here's my work. Here's supervisor. Here's the pink slip. You fill it into your system. I'm done. I'm gone. Right. And they go on to do their next job. How do you, so now the guy's done the job, but he's really not, entered that information. So we really have lost track of how much time he's really taking to do all this. He gives us the paperwork to the supervisor or the foreman, and at the end of the day, they've got a pile of pink slips to fill in. Huge waste of time, right? So what we realize is a big part of that happened because the people on the job sites were not able to log into that application in the first place. And why? Because when they went to log in, they forget their password. These are transient workers. They forget their passwords. And the administrator of the system was somebody who, on the job site a lot of times, right? These weren't necessarily central IT control systems. So just to find the person to reset their passwords was a big time suck. So what we were able to do was come up with a passwordless, secure way of logging in. And that, made it really easy. The only requirement, you have a phone. Who doesn't have a smartphone, right? You get a text and, you're in. And it made it really, so when you think of adoption, right? And I'll keep going back to adoption. How do you make adoption easier, right? If somebody can't do something in, 2-3 clicks, it's just frustrating. So that was we were very focused on that. And from there, we were able to then, give them web-enabled application power apps that allowed them to essentially, enter, the information that they were working on, whatever information we had to collect. Safety was a thing. So we had a safety form. If you had a safety incident, you have to fill it up. We gave them a very easy screen to fill up information and submit it. Pre-task plans, producing those pre-task plans to users at the beginning of the day so that they could go through it, things like that, right? Within that, we enabled mass communications, we enabled tracking of, who's on the job and who's not. So that way, if an incident does happen and we need everybody to go to the muster points, we could, just send out an SMS through the application, because now we have that information, right? But the other thing that was very important here to understand is, let's say, you got red flagged on one job for whatever reason, right? Because you're in the database.
Because you lost your password.
Or you lost, let's say you really did something wrong on a job site, right? Like something really flagrant, and we don't want you to come back on a job of ours at all. I could now red flag you across all our jobs, right? Because it's all one database and it's all my jobs on that database. So I could literally red flag you. And so when you go into the next job, the supervisor looks at it and, oh, wow, you're not supposed to be here. Right. And so it drove that. And if you really think about it, we don't have I haven't seen a proper labor system, a labor software. Like, just within the city of Boston, right? One, you don't really have laborers coming from New York to Boston or any other city. Maybe within a certain distance peripheral, you'll have people coming in. But how do you really manage that labor pool, right? Where are people? If there is a way to get insight into where people are, you could get better at looking at, okay, what's the next job we can fulfill, things like that. So you start looking at kind of the future planning. And I thought that was a very interesting future looking idea.
Yeah, it's that's. Do you know what I find is like so counterintuitive now? Because on one hand, you've got like, I don't know, just use an example. You've got like a reality capture company trying to incorporate AI to cross-check photos with real-time progress, and sounds very cutting edge, probably making not much revenue, I would guess. Has promise in the world. And then on the other hand, you've got Microsoft, which, I don't know, turned over what, $250 billion roughly each year.
Probably.
And the cutting edge is creating an app which stops or created, I don't know if you call it an app, but a feature which mitigates the need for multiple logins and passwords.
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, you've got to look at the industry, right? I mean, Microsoft's really the technology enabler, right? But you've got to look at the industry, and to me, why this industry is so relevant, and it's exciting to be here is partially because we are that much behind, and so the ability to do stuff with technology is a lot, right? Because we are in you take another industry that's technologically advanced, right? It's to make leaps and bounds, it's harder, right? So that's and then working with people has always been a passion of mine, figuring out how to get people to do different things differently, in a more modern way. It's always very interesting to work with people and figure that out.
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Okay, we have to discuss it. I almost at the point where it comes up nearly every conversation now, and I do have to roll my eyes a little bit, but hey, AI is here. It's here to stay. Yeah, how could you just talk to us like maybe what the strategy with AI is, and specifically if you can apply that answer to the AEC?
Yeah, so AI, at the end of the day, I look at it as a very, it's a play on efficiency, right? How can we do things faster? How can we do things better, right? Today, where AI is, and and I want to make certain I'm saying something correctly here, because AI has been around for a long time, right? The thing that we're really focused on last couple of years has been generative AI, right? The ability to take content and generate new content from it, right? That's just that's mind-boggling. But at the end of the day, the way I see this is, generative AI has, I call it a framework of four use cases. It can read, it can write, it can design, and it can analyze, right? So within that, can we take information, give it to this engine, and have it create new content that may be better because it's looking at a wider audience, right? What I mean by that is, let's say in a day-to-day setting, you probably meet 100 people, right? You probably retain 10%, 20%, whatever number, right? You don't retain everything that people have said to you necessarily. You probably don't even remember who you've met all day, right? AI can. It can remember if you give it data, you're giving that engine some data, it's remembering everything, and it's taking information from everything it's getting and giving you an answer, right? So I think on average, it produces a better result, right? There's obviously, there's some technicalities to that answer. A lot of people hearing this might say, oh, you got to do RAG and all this. Yes, there's the things to do that where you can fine tune your answers to get better results. But the bottom line is if AI is not, uh, you know, AI is not a tool that says this is the answer. It's a tool that says, here's the answer, and it's about 80% correct. You need to read it, right? The world has become really, when we think of Bing or Google searches, we expect the right answer. That's what's happened, right? The first few searches, who's to say that's the right answer, right? But that's the expectation of for us nowadays. So I think a lot of times when AI first started, it started with, hey, this is not the right answer. No, it's supposed to get you there. And one thing, somebody actually once said to me, if it's not the right answer, it's probably because you didn't ask the right question, right? So, but coming back to, what's the strategy for Microsoft? I think it's, how do we get people to do more? And you think of the Microsoft mission to help every business on earth to do more and enable them with technology, right? So, that's really a big part of our mission. When it comes to AEC, I think AI is a big play, obviously, right? What we, the way I look at it, the three things that I look at, one, what is Microsoft doing in this industry, right? So, educating customers on that, understanding our portfolio of tools from ERP to productivity to, I think, a lot of folks don't realize that we do a lot more than just Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, right? Even though Excel is one of the leading tools in this industry.
Oh yeah.
But we do a lot more, and a lot of people don't understand that. The other thing is, I mentioned education, right? That's a big part. So a lot of, including this podcast, a lot of the industry talks that I do, because people don't understand what we can bring to the table. And then AI is a big part of that, right? And within that AI journey, we're also looking for partners, right? So who can bring solutions to our marketplace, right? Microsoft does not need to innovate and invent everything, right? We heavily depend on partners to work on solutions on our technology stack so that we can easily integrate it, right? So the vision at the end of the day is to help a company, a construction company, an architecture, engineering, construction, real estate company to really consume technology in an easy way so that they don't have to worry about a bunch of things like, today we don't worry about hard drives, right? We're in the cloud. We don't worry about blinking red lights on a hard drive because Microsoft Azure takes care of that. So like that, when you start thinking about it and you start going up the stack, right? I think CIOs need to, want to get to a point where they're thinking about what creates unique value for my business, right? Everything else is uniquely valuable, right? Like running a help desk is uniquely valuable, but does it really create unique value for your business? Probably not, right? So that's where we want to focus our resources in because, that's important to the business outcome. So how do we as Microsoft help you in doing all of these other things that are mundane, that's, important, but mundane, so that you can focus on higher value outcomes.
Mm-hmm. So is maybe the message I'm getting is the core focus here is not actually on AI; it's more on the Office suite, and
it's a mix. No, absolutely. The core focus absolutely right now is on AI and security also, right? There's a huge focus on security within Microsoft, and these go hand in hand actually, right? There is a whole talk track on responsible AI as well, right? Which incorporates our Microsoft security stack, right? How we don't share data to the main LLM, how we your data is your data. And that's very critical for people to understand. I don't think there is another company that, when you think of the biggest competitors to Microsoft that can deliver AI the way we do, right? Where it is secure to you.
Okay, that sounds good. On AI, then, are there any like apps or tools that have been developed with Microsoft that are currently being used in AEC?
Yes, there have been, what I'll say is, a lot of them are customer led or partner led, right? Again, Microsoft is obviously we still focus on delivering platforms, so delivering kind of, wide, uh, wide scale platforms that can be used in many different industries. And AI is, an example of that. OpenAI is an example of that. But yeah, so we've got partners that have created, use cases around, bidding, around RFIs and submittals, around, some really neat use cases around safety, around, kind of looking at images and videos and converting that into, into alerts and things like that. So, it's progressing. A year ago, I did a show where we were talking about, hey, why is this all sitting in proof of concept POCs? And I would say yes. A year ago, that was the case. A lot of these were like proof of concepts. I really don't believe this can happen, but can you show me? And I think it's progressed since then, right? A lot of these use cases or proof of concepts have now become production, right? And I'm seeing a lot of companies using them to actually, help their workforce be more efficient with their time, be more streamlined, and so it is definitely making impact.
Yeah, and sounds like evolving as well. So, and with that question, then, if you're so we speak to a lot of startups on the podcast, and a number of them are building AI applications within construction and the AEC space. Should they be worried? Would they not be like, hey, I've built this for the last 5 years, but actually Microsoft budget to them is almost unlimited in this field. Why could they not just gobble them up?
So, so I think, Microsoft, one, it values its partners a lot, right? So, now, will they gobble them up? Look, I'm not, I don't know if they will or will not, right? But here's what I will say is, uh, a lot of, what I'm seeing in construction tech is very specific to construction. A lot of the technologies that are built, there are some that go a little wider, right? And I could see Microsoft doing a deeper partnership with some of those organizations. But typically, what you think of the partnership with OpenAI, right? It's a platform that can be used across every industry, right? So when I think of construction tech, uh, you know, you think of a robot that's aligning lasers to map out your entire job site. I don't see that as something that maybe that goes across every industry necessarily. So I don't see that being a play, uh, but if there is a technology that that can span, like for example, an AI around legal documents, right? Every organization has a legal entity or a legal department, right? If you could build an application that looks at the terms and conditions of a legal paper and extract, okay, here are the 10 things that we need to do, and necessarily create a application that tracks those 10 things, or within whatever job you're doing, say, hey, did you actually meet the terms and conditions, or did you not? Things like that, right? It could be a helper for you, like to understand, hey, the AI is really there to help you make sure that you're following everything that needs to be done. I could see that as being a thing, but again, I'm far removed from the investment side of the house.
Yeah, mate, good answer. I think for me, like as I can see it, as a Microsoft user, you want to just be able to go into one system, i.e., File Explorer, OneDrive, whatever it is, and every tool you need be on there, right? I don't want to have to log into like 4 different AI apps: 1 to check this document, 2 to check the drawing, 3 to check the language model something, and 4 to check a photograph. I want to
Yeah.
just be able to click on a document and it says like, okay, Microsoft Copilot flashes up and they say, what do you want to do? It's like, check these documents. Is the brickwork built? Or whatever. That's a stupid question, but you know what I mean. So I can't see really how Microsoft wouldn't eventually, either through acquisition or building their own AI tools, would just do this.
Yeah, I think again, I think you look at the future. I don't know where how Microsoft thinks about what to invest in, but I do know there is a strong partnership play, right? In fact, Microsoft is investing in partners. It's one of the things that I've been also helping Chase is bring startups or technology companies onto the Microsoft marketplace and things like that, right? At the end of the day, help drive kind of the ecosystem. I think the ecosystem will be far stronger if we have the right partners on the ecosystem that can produce a overall solution.
Yeah, can you name any of these partners? Are any of them currently live?
Right now, I cannot. They're under NDA right now, so unfortunately, I cannot. But when things do go live, I'm sure it'll be out there, and I'm sure I will personally let you know.
Okay, cool. What I'll do is I'll just name a few names and I'll try and look at your face for micro expressions that might give away an answer, yeah?
We can play that with you.
Just kidding. Okay, cool. No, it sounds good though. So I guess what would the message be then? Maybe you need to have a much stronger moat than perhaps a basic AI tool if you are building construction when going up against someone like Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for folks to understand why Microsoft, right? When you think of AI, why Microsoft? And a lot of folks are. I know companies out there that are looking at multiple, AI technology partners for their journey. But I think it's important to understand that one, security is a big part of it, right? When when your reputation gets hacked or your organization gets hacked and your reputation is behind it, that's important. You have to you have to think about that. Two, if you really think about where Microsoft is putting their money right now in innovating and furthering the AI story, right? It's growing by leaps and bounds, right? I don't have the slides with me, but I have a slide that literally shows last year what our AI stack was and a year from there. And it's this plethora of tools that we have, right? From LLMs to SLMs, small language models, right? That we have things to offer for different types of businesses, the different types of language models, right? And it continues to evolve, right? I've been talking to some companies about, maybe looking at a construction language model, right? It's a little different concept, but what if it could have a construction language model?
Very nice.
Something to ponder on.
Yeah, I know. I think it makes sense. Yeah, that completely makes sense. Because I even remember in my early days in the construction industry, it was honestly like learning another language. I used to sit in meetings. I was like, how am I ever going to understand this?
Right.
Here we are. Still don't understand it. Okay. What can I pick from my goodie bag of questions? Are there any trends or future areas that you think AI or that you're currently looking at, or not necessarily think, but you're currently looking at, and maybe some that you think might be disrupted by Microsoft's AI?
So, voice enablement, you think about speed and efficiency, right? I think voice enablement has been around for a little while. I think I see that getting enhanced more. There've been, I've personally worked on use cases even when I was a Suffolk, where you could literally use voice commands, much like, the Alexa tool or something like that, or Siri, right? And talk to the, device and have it do certain things. So you're talking to this device and say, hey, show me a report of X, and it'll show you a report. Uh, but so there has been a little bit of work in that space that I think over time will get stronger. The part that I actually think could really affect change is where, if you think about a general contractor and a subcontractor working, and the two of them, so in a day-to-day scenario before pre-AI, right? The two companies are working together on a job site. At the end of the day, whether you're subcontractor or you're a general contractor, you've got to get something done, right? You're building whatever you're building. What if the two of them build a copilot that the copilots could talk to each other and exchange data, so that the copilots are now automating of workflow across from a subcontractor to the general contractor and to other subcontractors too. So kind of this exchange of copilot
Yeah,
information.
love it. I think that's such a good idea. That will cut out so much of the menial, unproductive conversations that happen on site, right? Like
Exactly.
stupid. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. It's again a play for more efficiency. At the end of the day, when you think of a job site, right? If you take the names of the companies out of the hat, everybody has to work together to get this thing built, right? And so from that, I stem the idea like, okay, what can co-pilots work together, right? Like an insurance company working with the general contractor, right? They have to work together on insurance paperwork, on submissions of insurance claims and things like that, right? Can you build a co-pilot where my co-pilot from my company is creating the claim, capturing information, and working with the insurance's co-pilot to say, okay, here's the information, go process it.
Yeah. That excites me.
There's a lot more complexity to that than I'm making it out to be, but it always starts with an idea.
Yeah, dude, I think OpenAI are going to probably just release that next week by the sounds of it.
We should trademark it right here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I suppose like the one thing I struggle when I see with Microsoft is the education piece, like you say, and making people aware of how to use it, because people are just busy, right? Everyone has their job and and then someone's like, hey, go and learn the Power Platform. It's like, it's not really going to happen. Then and you can go and work on it, do like a whatever 1 month course, and then your company's not using it, so you'll just forget about it anyway and not be able to use that knowledge. So penetrating the market through education, I think that's what you touched upon earlier, seems to be where.
Yeah, that's a big part of my focus. People, I've had, senior C-level executives say, Joy, Microsoft's a productivity company. What do they don't even realize we've got an ERP tool in Dynamics that can do a whole bunch of things, from HR to F&O to project management and all these other things, right? And there are partners that actually have taken Dynamics and customized it to industry. Then you have Power Apps and Power Platform and a whole bunch of suite of tools along with that, right? Which also pulls in the cybersecurity resources to help you deliver applications securely and faster, right? And one of the things that has actually, if anything, I've seen that's taken a lot of adoption, that where adoption has been forefront, has been with GitHub Copilot, right? And I feel GitHub, I've seen folks be able to code faster and better, right? Think about it. Developers hate writing release notes, right? GitHub will do that for you, right? So it's for the long term, it's better, it's more secure, and it's correct. So you're saving a lot on efficiency in that as well. But yeah, that's where a lot of folks don't understand what we can deliver, and really look at it from a vision of how do I use an ecosystem and be more efficient, so that once I create that efficiently, I can focus on things that are outside of that ecosystem, right? Because Microsoft's not going to do everything. So We are going to use Procore. We are going to work with Autodesk and the likes, right? And customers, and we have to be realistic. Customers are going to use third-party applications, right? What I call best of breed, off-the-shelf applications. So the question becomes, how can you create a core, of your systems and then have peripheral applications? And over time, maybe look at those applications and say, okay, can I rebuild this in Power Platforms and not have to buy another technology, right? Because that buying another technology again makes you financially inefficient, and also from an adoption standpoint, right? People want to build buildings. I've heard this many times at my time at Suffolk. We don't have time to learn another technology. We are here to build buildings. So you really have to keep an eye on that. And when think of introducing another application.
Yeah, I love that. Really like that. Well, is there hard question, but is there maybe one tool within Microsoft that people are not aware of that they should be using?
I think a very outside of AI and all that, right? Obviously, people know AI, but there is a very powerful tool called the Microsoft Graph, right? Which I don't know, everybody, obviously, usually technology people know it, but it's very powerful. It brings a lot of information about users together that you can read off of, or you can mine through and say, okay, what are people actually doing in my organization, right? You can bring all that information together and produce reports from that, right? So I feel that's a very powerful technology underneath that a lot of people don't realize. Obviously, we haven't talked about Fabric, right? Microsoft Fabric, right? So Fabric is essentially a suite of tools, reports to one lake, a lake house essentially, but it allows for data teams and data engineering teams to not have to go and buy a plethora of applications. It does it all for you, right? From integrations to applications to bringing in, essentially you're creating your data pipelines from applications to your data lake, being able to then, do any data engineering, data mining, creating curated sets of data for different user groups within your organization. All of that is possible, right? It makes data engineering and data science far easier.
Mm-hmm. That sounds absolutely crazy. I never even heard of it. Microsoft Fabric. Crazy. Could you tell us, Adrian, just a little bit about Copilot? I think I shared a funny anecdote with you earlier that when I was trying to research what Microsoft Copilot does before obviously you have a brief idea because it pops up on your computer every now and then and it's all over the news and whatnot, but I actually couldn't find a straight answer. So hence why this is the first point I think I've asked you about it in this discussion so far.
So at the very simple level, right? So Microsoft invested in a company called OpenAI, right? And and OpenAI runs on Azure. So Copilot is nothing but an application with OpenAI, with that LLM. That's really what Copilot at a very, high level view, right? So if you think about it, all the Microsoft products, right? Our CEO made a promise that every product will be embedded with AI or with Copilot, right? So every application is infused with AI, and that's a Copilot. So that's one way to consume Copilot. Then you have what used to be called, what we call custom Copilots or Copilot Studio. So essentially being able to build your own Copilots, right? So to be able to build your own applications using that LLM underneath, right? So, you want to build an application to create a bidding, a bid for a job. That's Copilot, right? So you're basically creating an application underneath. You're ingesting all this information. The AI is reading it and telling you, hey, I'm curating the bid for you, right? And the third way is to call on Copilot APIs. So you may have heard last year Procore made an announcement at Groundbreak that they're going to create a Copilot. That's really what they're doing, is they're calling on APIs to basically, use the LLM on their data for users to, get answers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did think of a question, but it's just slipped me. Yeah. So maybe just one last question. I think we were coming nearer to the hour mark now. I feel like AJ, you're like a ball of knowledge that, unfortunately, like a 1 hour conversation, we can never really dive too far into. But I feel like we got a good spread. Um, is there, like, you work with a lot of the C-suite executives, as you mentioned earlier, and you must see inside their technology stack, so to speak. Uh, are these like companies, these C-suite executives of larger companies, are they actually using the startups that are building technology within construction? Or do they just have it on their like stack and it's just sort of clicked in? I think we had the term tech on the shelf before.
Yeah, I think it's a mix. And I think a lot of it also has to do with kind of company culture, right? And what I mean by that, so there are companies out there that I've seen that they they let the jobs to an extent run the way they want to run, right? So if a job site says, "Hey, I want this tool because we think it's more efficient for us to do it this way," to a certain degree, once it passes maybe some certain cybersecurity or integration checkpoints, they'll let them do that. So you do see a little bit of that. Uh, you know, do you see a lot of startups, across entire company, every job site? That's not as much. You do see some, depending on, kind of the use cases. I've seen that a lot with progress reports and things like that, right? The thing that I think, folks are starting to realize is, yeah, that, you need innovation, right? You want to be able to find different things. And I think that's really given a lot of rise to construction tech and a lot of these startups. And that's why a lot of the CIOs are looking at these products. The problem with that is, when things do go, when they do find value in a particular tool, now how do you really integrate that? How do you really teach people to do that at a national level or, global level, depending on the size of your company? And that becomes a hard thing. But so for the a big part of it, I've seen, here are the core things that we have to do, and they use a certain set of tools, right? The biggest players in this industry, obviously Microsoft, Procore, Autodesk. I've seen some Bentley being used out there, so uh, and then there are, other players that you see, companies use, but they're not as predominant.
So you recently also done a number of talks. Is there any kind of key messages from any of those talks that stick with you or that you shared that you perhaps would like to share?
Yeah, and one that sticks out to me a lot this past summer, here in Boston. Actually, I spoke at an event, and I literally kind of explained, kind of the journey at Suffolk in a way, like what I'd done, right? Because it was all about finding efficiencies, right? About through application, through the technologies, and that way, if you think about it, razor, the margins are razor thin in construction. So the IT budget, the IT department, we had to, figure out how to stay lean, right? And how to get efficient with our resources, not just human resources, but technology resources too. How can we do more with what we have, right? I'm not even saying do more with less, but just do more with what we have, right? How can we take the human resources we have and be able to cross train them across different areas of technology so that we can leverage people more, right? And so that was something that I was very uh, I was able to do very effectively at Suffolk, and that's been a big part of my messaging, right? When you think about CIOs asking me, Ajoy, how do we find efficiencies in operation, right? One of the first things I go back to is, okay, how many technologies do you have that you have to manage, right? How many different applications do you have? Because every application you have, you need somebody to help manage it. It's, you have maybe a SaaS application, but somebody has to oversee it. Somebody has to oversee the rollout. When things don't go right, somebody has to support it, right? That's a lot, right? So you may be finding yourself in a position as a technology leader that you've taken on more than your department can sometimes handle. So, I think it's important to look at that taxonomy of applications that you have and say, okay, how do I shrink it down, right? And then really focus in on how do I adopt the right technologies for my for operations, right, and back office operations, but mainly for construction operations, right, and find efficiencies through that, and then use AI on top of that to say, okay, now how do I how do I make you even more efficient, right? I kind of look at things a lot through a lens of Six Sigma, right? If you have a process and, if you can timestamp every step of the process, how can you make every step go faster, right? But then that way, overall, the process will go faster eventually.
Yeah. Okay, Ajoy. Sounds good. Well, thanks for joining us today. I feel like I need to have a question to close this off nicely. Okay. If you were to choose between Procore or Autodesk, who would you choose? You don't have to answer it.
No, they're both great companies. Actually, they're both partners, and everybody has their own swim lanes, right? And so this is really important. It's fun. I know you asked me that question, kind of lightheartedly, but it is a question I get asked a lot. And I think all three companies, Microsoft, Procore, and Autodesk, we all have our swim lanes. It's very important to understand. There are some gray areas in there, but it's very important to understand what our swim lanes are. Microsoft is never going to do a BIM model, right? I think that's Autodesk, their swim lane, right? Procore will do construction management. They're good at it, right? We leverage them as a partner. We don't need to do it like that. I mean, we have Microsoft Project, but it'll take a lot of customization. So those are our swim lanes, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Very good. Nice conservative answer here. Cool, AJ. I don't blame you. Can you tell people where they can find out more about you?
Yes, my LinkedIn page. I don't know if you have a way to put in my LinkedIn page on this.
Yeah.
Applicable, but my LinkedIn page. Reach out to me. I give out my email address, ajoybh@microsoft.com. Reach out to me. I'm very happy to talk to people about what we're doing and how we're trying to change things in this industry. I'm very passionate about the construction industry because I see a lot of change that can be done. So, absolutely reach out, and that's
sounds good. Thanks, Ajoy.
Thank you very much, Owen.